There are still many challenges for women at work in Australia. One thing we talk about quite a bit is the glass ceiling, where women find it difficult to progress to those very senior and strategic roles. What we talk about less are things like the glass walls, where women tend to congregate in occupations and in sectors where the majority of employees are women. Another challenge that women face in organisations is the phenomenon of the sticky floor, those low-level jobs in organisations and the labour force in sectors such as healthcare and in human services. So really essential jobs, but they tend to be undervalued and they tend to be feminised. And you compare those jobs to very masculine, very male-dominated occupations and sectors, think about tradies, they tend to be much more highly valued in terms of pay. So all of those things come together as the architecture of difference and discrimination for women at work. And we see those things play out in women's careers in a number of ways, and one of them is the pay gap. Best case scenario for women in Australia is a gap of about 17% between men's wages and women's wages. Worst case scenario, we're looking at something more like 45%. There is a really strong link between good workplace flexibility and gender equality at work. Very often, working women have to choose between a good job and their care arrangements. What we're trying to look at is what are the levers we can pull to ensure that people don't have to make that choice, that people can work in a good flexible job, utilising their skills and utilising their training to combine that work role with really important roles that they have at home in terms of care or in terms of a range of other things outside of work. In order for flexibility to be mainstreamed, men need to work flexibly. Sadly, from the research evidence, what we know is that men are both less likely to ask for flexible work arrangements because of the norms around work and around masculinity at work. But we also know that men are much more likely than women to be refused to work on a flexible basis. So this is a challenge for those men, but it's also a challenge for their partners and the choices that they can make in terms of their economic contribution and their economic independence. Many managers in Australia find the concept of flexible working quite challenging, and I think a lot of that goes back to the way that they've been trained and the way that they see performance lining up with being present at work. Flexibility is not just a feel-good way of approaching employees' work arrangements. Flexibility has been shown to have a really serious impact in terms of business benefits, but also along employee indicators around engagement, around commitment, and around people's intention to stay with their employer. What we're starting to see is a real mainstreaming of flexibility, and that's about all employees at all levels having access to flexibility for whatever reason. And we've seen lots of really large private sector employers and also some very large public sector employers taking up what we call the policy all roles flex. I think that we're going to be seeing much more development in this area in the coming years. The Business School is investing in the Women Work and Leadership Research Group because it's trying to make a contribution to building gender equality in organisations and to understand the dynamics that go on behind that. But I think it's also really important for looking at our educational role and the impact that the research that we're doing can have on the working lives of our students as well.